Welcome to That's Good Broncos. Yeah, I'm Brandon Perna, and after an off-season of hemp oil, sour beers, and a hungry man diet, I can officially say I am healthier than the Denver Broncos roster. Yes, you should be concerned about the injuries already happening at training camp. No, you should not panic yet, but concern, unrest, and indigestion should live inside you like a dull ache that weighs down your chest, slowly clogging your arteries and shortening your life by at least 1 year. I hope that's how you feel about the Broncos. I may be doing my job wrong. Shane Ray, Devontae Booker, Shaq Barrett all hurt before a single day of full padded practice. That's Good Broncos. This episode is sponsored by the greatest company on earth, SeatGeek. Yeah, I'm getting paid to talk about how awesome their website is, a website I already use. If you don't know, SeatGeek sells tickets to just about everything, and they rate their ticket prices on a scale of 1 to 100 so you know whether or not you're getting screwed. You can also click on the seat you want to buy and you will see a picture, a point of view from that seat. So use my promo code, That's Good, all one word, and you will get $20 off your first order. That is a no BS promo code, $20 back in your pocket for using That's Good at checkout. You can get $20 off Broncos tickets for this season. I love it. So maybe you didn't realize Shaq Barrett was already hurt. Yeah, it was a quiet hip injury that happened in May during a personal workout, and it almost cost Shaq the entire season. Barrett's return is uncertain, but he probably won't be ready to go until shortly after the beginning of the regular season. And Shaq was an important part of the defense. He played in 450 snaps last season, and the difference really between him and Shane Ray is that Barrett is much more effective as a run stopper. Both have talents as a pass rusher, but Shaq was one of the better run defenders last year in the NFL. I reported that Devontae Booker's wrist injury was not masturbation related. I can confirm that Shane Ray's injury also did not occur from overzealous jerking. However, had he been practicing with himself more in the offseason, his ligaments would have been stronger and probably not susceptible to injury. That's the problem with earning money and fame by playing in the NFL. Suddenly, you can have sex all the time, anytime you want, with whoever you want. And guess what suffers? Your wrists. If I'm the strength and conditioning coach, Luke Richardson, I demand players stick to a regular, rigorous baiting schedule during the offseason. It's the only way to keep those wrists healthy. You know, abstinence is good for your wrists. DeMarcus Ware retired. Barrett is out for an undetermined amount of time. Shane Ray is out 6 to 8 weeks, and you can't rush the return from a ligament injury like you can with a broken bone. This leaves the Broncos defense short 3 of the 4 primary pass rushers they had starting for them at the beginning of last season. This is not ideal, but it is also not the end of the world. That, of course, is global warming for the human race. Or a disease outbreak, or as many believe, alien annihilation. Now, looking at this situation from a positive perspective, both Shaq Barrett and Shane Ray could benefit from the rest they will get early in the year, hopefully making them stronger, faster, and more energized at the end of the season when everybody else is tired. Denver did sign Kasim Edebali this offseason, and the German-born former New Orleans Saint supposedly has the skills to step in and make up for the production of Shane Ray and maybe Barrett. Broncos coaches are also working with rookie defensive end DeMarcus Walker to play both defensive end and outside linebacker, which to me means there is real concern about these injuries. I'd keep my eye on Bontarius Dora as he showed some flashes last preseason as an outside linebacker. Now, an option the Broncos have is to bring in a veteran outside linebacker. There are some guys available like Paul Kruger or Dwight Freeney if they really feel like they need depth/experience there to start the season. The face of the Denver Broncos is now on a snap count or limit for the preseason to ensure that he stays healthy. The Denver defense has been incredibly lucky the last couple years in terms of avoiding major injuries, and my fear is that they are in a year where that could change. That is exactly why every time I have talked about the potential for this team this season, I said as long as the defense stays healthy, they will dominate again on that side of the ball. I say that, I knock on wood, because it is rare you get an elite defense for more than 1 to 2 years, because it is hard for those players to stay healthy long term. The Broncos have done a good job at locking up the core of that defense, keeping them in a Broncos uniform, but you can never factor in health and injury. It's the predictable thing, because it happens all the time. Now look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm being paranoid about injuries, but if that unit loses more players, this season will be an even bigger battle than any of us have already imagined. The good news is, I think the Broncos have more depth at the running back position than they have ever had. Including Devontae Booker, who's on the PUP list, there are 7 backs on the roster, plus 1 fullback. Janovich, by the way, is Brock Oliva's favorite player in NFL history. Last year, they kept 3 running backs on the roster, so someone we love is probably going to get cut this season. Right now, they have C.J. Anderson, Jamal Charles, Devontae Booker, D'Angelo Henderson, Stephen Ridley, Juwan Thompson, and Bernard Pierce. Juwan Hammerpound Thompson looked great in practice this week. Henderson has also looked good, and I cannot wait to watch him in a game. I think Pierce is probably on the outside looking in, and as is Stephen Ridley, and I'm not sure either of those guys make the team, which still leaves the Broncos with 5 running backs and a fullback. I'm not sure those numbers even work, so the question marks are Juwan Thompson, Jamal Charles because of his health, and D'Angelo Henderson. One of these guys probably won't be on the final 53-man roster, which sucks because I want to see them all play. Moving on to the quarterbacks, which should be brief. The position you haven't heard enough opinions on yet. Let me just say this, and yes, I will drag it out. We are 5 days into training camp. Only 2 days have been with full pads. There are 2 QBs not only battling for a starting job, but also in the process of learning a new offense with a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new quarterbacks coach, practicing against arguably the best defense in the NFL every day. So for everyone saying someone should have emerged already as a clear-cut leader in this race, let me politely say, you are fucking insane and spoiled because we got too used to Peyton fucking Manning. Listening and reading anything about the quarterback competition after 5 days of practice is like Rob Gronkowski. Dumb. Do an experiment and pick 10 articles and or radio shows / podcasts and listen / read the analysis. Everyone is watching the same thing every day, and I guarantee you half of those people will have a completely different evaluation than the other half, because there's a bunch of people who've already picked a side and they're tooling their narrative to fill their own bias. And then they deny that they are being biased. It's insane. What I don't understand is how everyone is watching the same practice, but the expert evaluators are coming up with completely different conclusions. We're all seeing the same thing. Paxton Lynch won today. No, Siemian won today. I'll take Paxton's 2 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions, and 2 fumbles over Siemian's 0 mistakes and 0 touchdowns because I feel less bored watching Paxton Lynch. And God forbid I'm slightly bored while watching football. God forbid either of these guys get a fair shot. I only want one of them to have a fair shot. One of the few sane voices I hear is Vic Lombardi, who just today said it's impossible to tell who is doing better at training camp, and he's 100% right. Anyone who is unequivocally sold on either QB at this point should not be someone you listen to for valuable information about the Denver Broncos. If you're doing it for entertainment, that's fine, but pay attention to what former players say about these guys. Their opinion should mean more to you as a fan trying to obtain accurate info about the QB battle, as many of these guys have lived through things like this firsthand. Just like if you want to know the best way to unclog an impossibly clogged toilet, you should tweet me about it. For a little man, I produce some things that I think science should be studying. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Until we actually watch both of these guys play in this preseason with this new offense in live action against a real defense, we cannot evaluate every throw they make in practice. This is where they're supposed to screw up. Imagine trying to learn something with dozens of media members tweeting your every move, with a bunch of fans watching, and with guys like Derek Wolfe and Von Miller standing feet away from you every play. All I'm saying is this isn't an easy decision to make. There are dozens of things that will factor into the ultimate decision. Paxton won't be ruined if he has to wait longer, but it might fuck with him if he's named the starter and then tanks and then is replaced by Siemian. Going with Siemian to start this season poses the least amount of risk to the team and to the coach's job security, because if he plays to his full potential, which none of us know, and again, anyone who says with certainty they've seen his ceiling, they should have the same credibility to you as a person who would cast a vote for Kid Rock to be senator. If Siemian plays great, then that's a good thing for the Broncos. If he plays like shit and they move on to Paxton, that's okay too. If he plays good, gets hurt, and they move on to Paxton, that's okay. I think the scenarios with Siemian starting make more sense for the organization. And that's not a knock on Paxton. That's just how I feel right now before watching them play in preseason. We know Paxton is the better athlete, but that's only one part of the equation. Let these guys play in some games. If Paxton goes out there and balls out, then that's awesome. Give him the job. If it's close, then you make the safest bet to start the season. We should be excited because the preseason is actually very important for the Broncos. So as fans, we're getting 4 extra games this year that will matter. How many times during the preseason are you just bored waiting for the real season to start? This year, there's something important to keep your eye on. Here's my position. I'm not gonna pick a side. I'm not gonna root for one of the guys to fail, to prove my prediction right. I'm gonna root for both of them to succeed, for someone, I don't care which one, to take command of the offense. I'm rooting for the guy who will ultimately win the most games for the Broncos. So please don't pretend like you already know who that is, because nobody does. If I hear anyone say, I'm on Team Paxton, oh, I'm on Team Siemian, I will shit my pants and follow you everywhere you go that day so you can smell how the words coming out of your mouth sound. Also, you may want to start preparing yourself for the fact that the Broncos may not have a QB who can be a long-term starter in the NFL. Because if we're talking about odds, that's the one that's favored at this point. Finding franchise quarterbacks ain't easy. And to add some more fuel to the fire, I'm gonna make a prediction here. I'm gonna let my mom and my dad tell you who will win the starting job, because their guess is just as good as my guess, is just as good as anybody else's guess. Give it to 'em, Mom and Dad! Who do you think's gonna win the quarterback competition?
Siemian.
Who's up for it?
Siemian or Paxton Lynch?
Oh, Siemian.
Heard it here first. That's Good Sports parents predict Siemian wins the quarterback battle. Who do I think's gonna win? I really don't know. Probably, I don't know. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Broncos. Good luck to both quarterbacks. I hope they both play really good and that Vance Joseph's decision is super fucking hard. That's the best case scenario for us. Subscribe here on YouTube. Give me a follow on Twitter at Brandon Perna and Instagram at Brandon Perna. I love my name because I'm a narcissist.